Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast from still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me, vintage Jack Foster is here of Omaha Productions and Rocky Top Insider. Jack, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chase. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. It's NCAA tournament day as we're taping this, so we'll see. Oh, yep.
No, I was just going to say, it's still morning. I spent the first hour and a half of the day just looking at stats for today's Always College Football record, so my brain's a little mush. But yes, I need to be more excited. It is Thursday, March 20th, one of the greatest days of the year, kicking off the first round of March Madness. Also, Tennessee-Alabama series openers tonight, and Severance season finale. So a trifecta today of awesomeness here on this March Thursday.
100%. It's going to be a loaded Thursday here. And the one thing I will say, I really don't love that Alabama-Tennessee's tonight, with Tennessee and Wofford playing here at what, 6:15? We're taping this? Is it
6:50?
50? Something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some crossover, and it's a big series. Like, I really want to see how Tennessee fares against Alabama, especially coming off that stunner against ETSU on Tuesday night, Jack. The family group chat was not happy about Tennessee going down to ETSU. Let me tell you, the Thomas family group chat was not doing well.
You know those memes where it's like when something crazy happens and it's like, this person just texted me and I haven't heard from him in 15 years. It's usually like your dad. You know, my dad just texted me about this and I haven't heard from him in 15 years. I got a call yesterday morning, practically woke me up. It was like 8:20 a.m. And I won't name him, but this guy, and we're friends, but we rarely talk. Like, we just don't talk a lot. You know, it's been months.
He's calling you at 8:20 in the morning on a weekday?
Yeah. I know. And we don't talk often at all. It's been months since we last chatted. Definitely like early football season, maybe. And he knows I cover the baseball team, and I answer, and he's like, "What's up, man?" I'm like, "Hey." He goes, "So what happened last night?" Right.
That's only an SEC. Like, that's it. That's
Right
the most SEC story possible. It's like no one else like wakes up angry over a midweek SEC baseball loss quite like a Tennessee or LSU or any fan like that, where it's just they woke up angry. That means you were mad. Like, it carried into the next day. Like, you didn't even just wipe it from, all right, whatever, let's flush it. Moving on to Bama. No, woke up angry. Lost to ETSU. Can't have it.
I know. People just, it's gonna happen. And
also,
Tennessee
I just don't
fans are
know.
more passionate than others. So
maybe I'm crazy, but I don't think they should count. Like, if Tony treats them as a like rotation of, hey, maybe this arm will help us this season or next season, whatever. Pitching so many different people, weird lineups that he's not going to use on the weekends, because it's not really Tennessee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it feels kind of. I mean this as respectfully as possible. It just feels like a tune-up type exhibition before it's like a prelude, or like going to a comedy show. It's like the opening act before you get to the main guy. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean like that just is how it is. So it's weird that it counts the same in terms of wins and losses for teams when the entire point of it is to experiment. Does that make sense?
I completely agree. And you're right. It does count against your actual record. It, can end streaks, like it ended Tennessee's winning streak. But when it comes to what actually matters as far as committee goes, as far as how you can fare in a season, they don't matter, right? Like, no one's going to look at midweek losses and, dock you when it comes to getting an NCAA tournament bid or a top 16 seed. That's never going to happen. So in a sense, they do matter, but when it comes down to it, it's not going to affect anything Tennessee wants to achieve down the road. So in that case, they don't really matter too.
That's fair. Well, before we get into Tennessee baseball here, Jack Foster, we have some future bets and questions I have here for you as we continue on with our Tennessee football futures. I also just got to tell you, not happy about no practice videos, no B-roll, and my favorite royalty-free music on Rocky Top Insider this week of Tennessee out there in the elements. And the weather was great this week for it. Like, this is a bad week to not have spring practice, but I miss it. Like we got that whole, and then we had the juice coming out from Tennessee Athletics, and I'm just like, all right, I'm ready to run through a freaking brick wall, man. And then we just have a whole week off here, and I don't like it. But Jack Foster, Tennessee Future Bets number 1. Who leads Tennessee in interceptions in 2025? Jack Foster.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the guy who's returning, the one of the captains of this defense, and Jermod McCoy. He tied the lead last year, and if I didn't do this research, but if I remember correctly, you got quite a few of them early on. It was kind of a storyline I remember, at least in the first half of the season, about Jermod kind of being a ball hawk, and I just think he's an elite cornerback. I think the injury will not be a storyline going into the season as much as it is now, of course, and McCoy can lead Tennessee in interceptions this fall.
McCoy is like the most obvious one, but like you said, I mean, we have to take them at like just kind of what the reporting is that he'll be ready to go early on, and that even if he misses like the first week or they're careful with him against Syracuse, that it seems like it would be a surprise if he's not there for Georgia in week 3, because I mean they're going to need him against Georgia. Like he's going to be a big time need against the Dogs. But I was thinking about this, and I'm like, Tennessee. What's kind of weird about Tennessee is like, I mean, do you know this off the top of your head? Who who Jermod was tied with interceptions last year?
Well, I wouldn't have before this morning, but yes, Will Brooks.
Will Brooks. And it's 4. And I don't remember 4. Like, I remembered 3. And do you remember the 4th? Can you count them off the top of your head of Will Brooks' interceptions? I mean, he obviously had the game sealer against Alabama. He had the pick 6 against NC State. I want to say he had one against Kentucky, right?
Yep. And this is why you can't remember it, because it was such a horrible night for Tennessee.
Did he get one against Ohio State?
Yeah, it was.
I don't remember a Will Brooks interception against Ohio State at all.
Back of the end zone, into the first half.
Oh, was that Willie B? He brought that in.
I would assume so. I mean, that's the only pick I remember for Tennessee.
That's wild. But like when you think ball hawk, you weren't thinking Will Brooks before last year, and the man had one of my favorite pick 6s of all time against NC State. That was electric. And also super critical because NC State was driving. The game just like went away from NC State for that. Like the momentum completely shifted once that pick 6 happened. And it got ugly in a hurry. But you look at it, Tennessee doesn't really, they're not like a ball hawking unit. You know what I mean? Like they don't really have, and maybe it's a little bit different this year because maybe they get more aggressive. Instead of sending 4, they're sending a lot more, and quarterbacks are more likely to throw interceptions under duress, So if Tennessee's more aggressive blitzing, maybe you get some more picks because you put them in situations where they were not put in last year. I don't know. I think it's interesting that Jermod and Will Brooks were the same there. I would say I don't think it's going to be Jermod. And part of it is I don't know if I'm 100% believing Jermod's going to be ready to go and he's playing a bunch of snaps week 1. I understand that like that's part of it's so weird because Jermod or Willie Martinez doesn't really rotate at corner. Like last year, those two guys, Jermod and Ricky Gibson played 60 to 70 snaps a game. Like, and then Jalen McMurray got his like 20-ish, I think. And I look at around, I don't know if Ricky Gibson's that kind of guy. It wouldn't surprise me if Ricky Gibson increases his interception total if he gets targeted more, because he was getting targeted a lot last year with Jermod being as good as he was. So, I mean, more targets, more opportunities for Ricky to get some interceptions here. So I think Ricky is an interesting one. But I just can't shake the fact that it was safety for Tennessee. It doesn't seem like Andre Turrentine is that kind of guy. And then if it's Jacoby Thomas starting or Christian Charles, I don't really see that either. Maybe Idris Farouk steps into that role for Will Brooks as a big-time player that you're not expecting in safety spot. I think Boo Carter is probably... I'm just giving every word of Boo Carter. Like, would it be that surprising if Boo Carter is someone off the edge and he's just like, he has 2 interceptions where he just jumps up and just picks it off from a quarterback who's like running around away from Boo Carter, and he does something like... Boo Carter is just going to make plays, and now that he is the full starter at star, and maybe because of where Jermod's at, he maybe plays a little bit on the outside some, and they have somebody else in at start. Like, I don't know. I just it's hard to keep the ball away from Boo Carter, and I kind of wonder if Boo's going to be someone who has a couple big interceptions this year.
It could be. And, that's another reason I went with Jermod is because when you look at this Tennessee secondary, there's not hardly any, new blood that's going to play a ton. It's a lot of returners this season, which is much different than the case was last year. And the interception numbers obviously weren't high for anyone else. No other player had multiple outside of Brooks and McCoy. So McCoy was that type of player last year, and I would just anticipate he's going to be again. And like you said, a lot of the other guys, what they are. But Boo is the unknown, I would guess, more so than the others. So it could happen. I just don't see it happening from the star spot as much. But, it's not out of the realm of possibility. And I was looking at the, Tank McCullough was usually up there in years past for Tennessee. So they've had safeties, get a handful of picks in a given season. So it's not impossible for one of those guys like a Turrentine or Thomas to do it. But I'm just going to bet on McCoy.
You know who here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to buy, this is just early stock. John Slaughter had an interception last year, and he was running with the ones a little bit earlier this spring. If John Slaughter is a starter with Andre Turrentine, and people are expecting it to be Farouk or Jacoby, and Slaughter wins that job, Slaughter's probably the pick here. He's athletic, he's rangy, he's long. John Slaughter might be my buy low pick. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say John Slaughter is at least tied or leads at Tennessee in interceptions if he's a starter. I'm going to go Slaughter.
Okay. Yeah. Big asterisks on the starter, but yeah.
Yeah. I like it. The other Tennessee football future bet, Jack Foster. Which year 2 player, and I'm talking true year 2, not like a Stone Lawless situation where he's being grouped in with the freshmen. It's not and that with the way Nico was called, freshman, that drove me nuts last year. Nico was not a freshman. Why do we redshirt freshman? It's very different. He had a full year in the system before starting it. It drove me nuts. I don't know if it drives you nuts when I hear it on broadcast and people talk about it. It's he's a freshman. It's no. He's second year player. Just you got to qualify. We don't need to use class. We need to use year in the program. It's he's a year 2 player.
Yeah. It doesn't bother me as much when a redshirt freshman played 0 snaps in his.
He was still there though.
I know, and it is different, but it doesn't.
It was a year in the weight room, a year of learning the system. It's very, very different.
I get it.
I don't know. But year 2 player that you think is going to make the biggest jump for Tennessee football. Who's your bet right now, Jack Foster?
There's so many. There's so many to choose from. This is the toughest one of all the bets we've done to answer, I think. Because of the how many players could happen. I mean, Mike Matthews is a pick on offense.
Yeah.
Peyton Lewis, we'll see what he can do. But I'm going to go with Jordan Ross, and we've talked about him a lot at the Leo spot. 5-star prospect. When you look at 247 and on threes, could be that third down specialist Leo for Tennessee this season and rack up the sack numbers. I know we talked about him potentially leading the team in sacks. I think it was last week. So I'm going to go with Jordan Ross. I think he's arguably the most talented true sophomore or second-year player, of these. Yeah, I should say we're not lumping those guys in. So, yeah, he's the most talented guy of this assortment of players we're looking at. So I'm going to go Jordan Ross here.
I like Jordan Ross. Jordan Ross, if he fits that bill this year, Tennessee's defense is going to be really good. If Jordan Ross makes the biggest year 2 leap of anybody, I think Tennessee's defense, and especially defensive line, is going to be really, really good. I like your Mike Matthews call at the beginning. I think my gut is, in reading through the tea leaves here, is that he's going to get every opportunity to break out. Yeah. Mike Matthews is going to be expected on, he's going to have to be the guy. He's going to get targets. He's the one who worked out with Nico this offseason and in California and stuff. He's the one who, if you're looking for a Ryan Williams guy in the SEC to break out on this team, when you look at just situation in that room with 7 guys right now, 6 underclassmen, and what's going to be on his plate, Mike Matthews, I think, is where you want to go, because if Mike Matthews fits that bill, Tennessee's offense, I think, is really good again. If he can pull that off.
I've said this another time, but Mike Matthews is Tennessee's offense X factor in 2025.
I will throw one caveat in that though. I think William Satterwhite also fits this.
Okay.
And if it's not something you're going to see and fans are going to see on the broadcast, but if it's smooth and you don't notice William Satterwhite this fall, that means William Satterwhite had a very good season as Tennessee center. Like if there is no, what's going on there? No fumbling the snap, no issues running the ball up the middle. That means like the tempo is back. Like he's a big part of the tempo and the checks. Like if things are humming offensively this year and you don't notice the center, that means William Satterwhite replaced Cooper Mays, one of the best centers Tennessee's had in a long time, 4-year starter, and made it seamless, a seamless transition, and ran with it. Like if William Satterwhite fits that mold for Tennessee, then that's a huge, huge development for the Vols. So I would toss William Satterwhite in that mix too.
Yeah, I thought about him, and as far as leap goes, I don't know how great William Satterwhite is going to be, but you're right. If he goes unnoticed and there's no talk about him, that's a good thing because it means he's playing at least well enough to where there's not any worries about the center spot on a week-to-week basis. So, no, I thought about him. I thought about Braylon Staley out of the slot as a guy who could potentially take a big leap because, obviously didn't play in his first year as a true freshman. Now a redshirt freshman could provide a lot for Tennessee at the wide receiver spot. You mentioned a dark horse when we were talking about the secondary. Farouk could emerge as a reliable safety for Tennessee, and I think that's a guy who could be in this category as well.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw last year Ricky Gibson out of nowhere as a true sophomore. He gets a bunch of snaps and starts opposite of Dramad and never looks back. So I mean, it happens. Like there are some year 2 jumps, and maybe it's Edwin Spillman at linebacker. Does he run with it and take it as a true year 2 guy? There are a lot of options for year 2 guys here on this roster, and then the obvious one that we should just throw out is I think Boo Carter's gonna be better than what he was. In
right.
1.
You can't say Boo Carter here because he started as a freshman. It's talking about taking the biggest leap, but yes, if you're saying the best year 2 player, it's probably him.
That's probably fair. But you hope it's Mike Matthews. Switching gears here, Tennessee baseball. Jack Foster. We're not going to talk about the Bucks game. Doesn't matter. Like just flush it, folks. Move on. We're not talking about the Bucks game.
No ETSU talk.
No ETSU talk. There's nothing to be learned and gleaned from. That's Tony's job. Like to glean something.
There were some takeaways from that game, but
go. Hold on. Oh, the floor is yours, Jack. The floor is yours, Jack Foster.
All right. You want to hear the biggest takeaway from ETSU? Yes. Tanner Franklin looked better.
Okay.
And he got the loss. He gave up the deciding run, the home run in the 10th. He got mashed out the park. But Tanner Franklin looked so much better against a good lineup than he did against Florida. And Tony even said so. Franklin retired 5 of 6. The velo was obviously there. He was in the zone. I think it was a really positive sign going into a tough SEC weekend that Tanner Franklin may have gotten his confidence back and that you can rely on him to get you a couple of outs at least at Alabama.
That's fair. And we're recording this before, obviously, Thursday night. We'll see if he pitches because he usually pitches that Friday night behind Doyle. I don't think he's going to be there tonight. I
would be shocked if he pitches Thursday night, yes.
Who do you think replaces him? This is some clairvoyant Jack Foster. Who do you think's after Liam?
It'll be Liam, and then depending on situation, he'll do Bridge. I think tonight, if there's a night you want Liam to keep that pitch count low, it's Thursday night because Franklin's not going to be able to use. I think you want Snead in a potential rubber match situation to be fresh or at least somewhat fresh on a Saturday this weekend, but Snead's going to have to throw on Thursday night. And the question is just how much can Doyle go longer, and do they use Loy in a longer Bridge spot potentially? But I think it's Doyle, Loy, Snead tonight.
I love it. How do you think Ryan Combs has pitched thus far? Because he came on strong early on as Tennessee's just replacement for his brother as the next closer for Tennessee baseball. I think his ERA is around 5. He kind of struggled there against ETSU. How do you think Combs has pitched ultimately to this point?
I mean, I don't think you can say great. The stuff is good, and he looked really good early against subpar teams. But I think it was St. Bonaventure. He didn't look great in a bullpen game that Tennessee used him in. He hasn't looked good. He didn't look good in a in the ETSU game. Tennessee didn't even pitch him against Florida. So that kind of tells you where he's at in the pecking order a little bit. He got hot on Sunday, I will say, when Snead, when the tying run was at the plate for Florida in the ninth there. But I don't know if he's not Aaron Combs. Let's say that. He's just not Aaron Combs. He's not going to be a reliable closer type guy for Tennessee this season. I still think he can get outs in SEC play, but he just hasn't been that good. I don't think you can have a lot of confidence with him right now. He's just getting hit around. I mean, and when you look at this pitching staff, not many guys are, and not everyone's been super consistent, but Ryan Combs it's been a while since he's had an outing where you're like, dang, Ryan Combs looked good. Like Sanford, maybe when that was the last time, maybe a midweeker there in between, but it's been a while.
So where does Tennessee go? Is it Krenzel, who a lot of fans are in on right now? Is it Binky, who's back? And he looked good on Tuesday. Did we see him more prominent in the back end on weekend games? Because Loy's kind of occupying that Kirby role. I don't know. Could Binky be your Redmond Walsh type guy? I don't know. I don't know where they go in that spot now.
I don't know if Tennessee really needs a replacement for Ryan Combs. They look pretty good against Florida without him, and that was heavily assisted by a complete game shutout for Marcus Phillips. But
yeah,
I think that one of these arms that we've been seeing on midweeks is going to end up getting some SEC reps, whether it's Breedlove, Crabtree, Krenzel. One of these guys is going to step up and be a fringe SEC bullpen arm. I just don't really know which one yet because they've all taken their turn of being the best. Right now, it's Krenzel. He looked so good on Tuesday, steadied the game. The week prior, Crabtree was awesome against West Georgia and steadied the game when Tennessee's arms were struggling. Breedlove has had his moments in the sun. So all these, and Ryan Combs early, right? They've all had their moments a little bit. These JUCO arms and true freshmen alike. I don't really know which one at this point is better than the others. I still think that's a TBD, but it's hard to not say Krenzel after what he did. And I will say Krenzel's had the least amount of opportunities of that group. And I mean, he had a 0.00 ERA entering Tuesday, and then he had his best outing of the season. So he still's yet to give up a run. The sample size was much smaller for him before we finally got a bigger, sample size of a game. So maybe he has the most upside of the group right now.
Is he Craig Krenzel's son, by the way?
Yes.
That's wild. I'm 97 years old. I was like, there can't be another Krenzel. It has to be a relation. But it's his actual son. It's his actual son.
Yep. That's definitely is.
That's crazy. Interesting. Well, I mentioned him at the top here. Binky, I think Shump is a big Binky guy. I know he's transitioned to Loy a lot.
Nashville guy. That's why.
Oh, there is. I knew there had to be something going. There had to be something more there. An under talked about level of bias. Dishonest Shump is what we call him. What do you make of Binky at this point? Do you think he factors back into more of a prominent weekend role?
I think he'll pitch against SEC competition. Yeah. And I thought he looked solid on Tuesday. It wasn't great. He got a big help out of Ariel Antigua to get out of that jam when he came in, then gets the double play, which was all Ariel, in my opinion. It was a ground ball, so great on Binky, but Ariel made the play. But I thought he looked solid, and, it'd been a month since he pitched, so they're still going to ramp him up, I think. He's not an extended relief guy. He's like I feel this is a little bit too disrespectful probably, but he's like a poor man's Loy at this point. Lefty specialist. I don't think his outings will be as long as Loy's. I don't think he has the upside to go 3-4 innings like Loy does in a given game. But Binky can get you some key outs, and I think Tennessee would want him to be a higher leverage type pitcher. And we'll see if they trust him in that role potentially this weekend or moving forward. But he did it a couple of times last year. He was absolutely great in the regional last year. So you've seen it before, and I think it would be great for Tennessee if he could do that.
That's why I think he's more Kirby Cannell to me than Loy is. I think Loy has gotten that, just I guess the pigeon forge aspect, and I think he remember I was listening to Basilio talk about, I think he may or may not have Kirby's hat from last year or something.
Oh,
And
really?
I think that's what they said on the broadcast. But
Well,
um,
I've noticed
it,
how dirty it is, so it wouldn't surprise me because Kirby's hat was always dirty.
yeah, so don't quote me on that, but ask him. I think
I'll
that's what
ask.
they were talking about on Basilio this week. But um, I think Binky fits more of that role because like Kirby's not giving you 4 to 5 innings. Like Loy can start.
Well,
Like Loy is a souped up version. Like I think we're selling Loy short a little bit, but I do think Binky has that kind of upside. Like that's what you want is Binky to come in for if you're in a tight squeeze as a lefty you can trust and get an out or two and get out of an arduous situation and keep it moving. Like I feel like Binky is like who you want to be this year's Kirby, and I think Loy is more of like the lefty version of Snead, where he's your extended guy that you like a very very different look, but he can give you significant innings and maybe pitch twice in one weekend, right? Like I just feel like it's the Loy upside is a lot stronger than what Kirby had and where Binky's at.
Binky is 2023 Kirby. Loy is 2024 Kirby. You know, Kirby was really just getting a couple outs each time in 23, but in 24, he had some extended relief appearances. And
Yeah.
I would venture to say more often than not, he was pitching more than an inning in 24. He saved Tennessee a bunch of times. And I think Loy can do that. I think Loy can be a 2024 Kirby. He was used like a 23 version of Kirby until last weekend, but in the first, kind of real weekend of the year, he was used in an extended relief role and shoved. So I think that's probably more indicative of the type of role he'll have, which would lend more toward what Cannell did in 2024 than 2 years ago, which is what I think Binky could be. So yeah, they're different. Lloyd definitely more upside. I agree with you on all fronts, but Kirby was so he wore so many different hats. Speaking of hats, throughout his Tennessee career, that he was a different type of bullpen arm each year. So I think it can be different versions of Kirby between those two lefties that Tennessee currently has.
That's fair. Final thing here, Jack Foster, because we will not know as we finish up this program how Tennessee fared against Alabama in Game 1, but in Game 2 and 3, your biggest question that you're most curious about for the Vols as they try to keep their SEC series win streak alive in the place where it last ended in Tuscaloosa a year ago.
Yeah, can Tennessee get some more consistency from the offense? I think it's been a little bit quiet as of late. Even in the Florida series, it wasn't great outside of an inning. And Alabama's got some arms. That Alcock on Sunday was amazing last week. So I think this series is going to come down to Sunday. And, can Tennessee's offense rise to the occasion on what could be a weaker pitching day? And then pitching side of things, does Tegan Kuhn start again on Sunday? And does Tony allow him to go longer? Because I think we all want to see it, no matter who you are. Tegan Kuhn looks great on the mound. Looks like he's in complete control, but his outings have been cut short so far. I think he's pitched enough to where he's fine to go longer, but will Tony allow him to do that? So,
man, if he's like the AJ Russell conversation gets really interesting in a couple weeks when he ramps up. It's like if Tegan shoves and he gets more of an opportunity this weekend and is the leading guy in the rubber match against Alabama potentially.
Yeah, I think Tegan is still a big enough question mark right now to where it's not a storyline yet, but you're right. It could be if we get 2 to 3 SEC starts from Coons where he's dealing in a 5-inning start and you're like, okay, what are we going to do now?
Yeah. I mean, maybe you just go Tegan, AJ back to back and like just to MLB first round talent like on Sundays. Like maybe that's what you do. But you have Snead there. So Snead's like ready to go to from the I don't know. This is a Tony problem.
Snead becomes a Friday stack for sure. And then Tanner Franklin, and then you just piece it together after Phillips on Saturday.
That's true.
Or you piece it together after Doyle. It's whoever goes longer on a Friday, Saturday. I don't know. They'll make it work. It'll be fine.
I mean, it is fair that it bring up the questions about the offense. Like there is some like.
No, it's not dominant. It's not overly dominant like I think people thought it was going to be. You can tell it's much different than last year.
And it's also not 23. Like 23.
Yeah, it's not as bad as 23.
But it's also not as good as last year or 22.
Right.
And I think that's but the pitching is so much better than 2024.
Yep.
And it's just weird. It's just a little bit different. But I do wonder, like, how much, because Gavin Keelan's still great. Like, some people have wondered, does Dean Curley need to move down from number 1? And I'm like,
Well,
I don't think.
I mean, unless you're putting Manny or Jay there, I don't know who you're going to put there instead.
Well, that was the thought, is putting Jay there. Because Jay's hitting well.
Yeah, I'd wait a little while.
Yeah.
I'd want to see a couple more games under Jay's belt to where he's really reliable before I do that, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what would there be any, like, or I don't know. You know what you might need is like Alberto Ozuna a little bit. You could use that bat in the middle of the lineup right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not quite there yet because I'm still very confident when Tennessee's 9. I just think you want a little bit more consistency out of a Curley, out of a Fisher. Like, Fisher feels a little homer or bust right now. I think you'd like to see a little more consistency there. And then Clark just didn't have hardly any ABs last week. Like, he got pinch hit for so early. I thought that was confusing. So we'll see. But Manny and Jay, stock's been up big time as of late. Those guys are super reliable. And
especially
Chapman,
Manny, like, he's forced his hand. Like,
yeah,
like Manny has
he's
to
an
play.
everydayer. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing the Dean Curley thing where he took advantage of a situation and he's never looked back. And is he 2-year or 3-year? I forgot to look him up last time.
I think he's a 3-year. I think of Tennessee's top freshman, the only 2 years Teagan.
Is Teagan the only 2-year?
He might not be the only one, but I think of the ones that are contributing on a regular basis right now, he is.
Yeah, I know Jay and Levi are both
3-year.
Let's see here. Where's his birthday? Wow. Okay, it's not here. Oh, April 22nd.
What year?
2005.
So he's 19?
Mm-hmm.
So he will be. He's a draft eligible sophomore.
Yeah, because it's 2005.
He'll be 21 in 2026, which is next year, before the draft. So yes, he will only be here 2 years.
Well, it's good he's playing now, because you're only going to get 2 years, Manny Marin, potentially. Jack Foster, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at Rocky Top Insider and Omaha Productions this week?
Yeah, absolutely loaded day, as I mentioned. Basketball and baseball converging on a Thursday night, and they will again on Saturday, assuming Tennessee handles business against Wofford. So baseball all weekend long, basketball as well in the round of 64 and 32, assuming, and football spring practice kicking back up, and over at Omaha, just college hoops talk from SVP and Stanford Steve on SV Pod. More NFL free agency stuff from Mina, and always college football. We're still doing our spring questions. And then next week, we'll do top 25 coaches, which Greg has never, ever ranked coaches in our show's history because he doesn't really like doing it, but he's doing it now. So let's have some fun.
I love it. Josh Heupel, number 1. Spoiler alert, Josh Heupel, number 1 on his list.
Maybe add another one to that, and that'll be his ranking.
Smart. We're actually doing our own top 25 here on the program next week with Matt and I. And I have him somewhere in the 10 to 15 range right now. He has a chance to go in the top 10 this year, depending on what he does. But I think he's somewhere in the 10 to 15.
Actually, I'll give you a spoiler here because, I know the list and we're days away from the show even coming out, but he is 12th on Greg's list.
That's probably fair. Depending on who he has in front of him. But yeah.
Kiffin, Franklin, Kelly.
Are you just spoiling his whole list here, Jack? Don't do that.
It's 25. I just gave like 4 names. It's not even a quarter. We're fine.
All right. Look, I'm looking out for you, Greg McElroy. Like, don't forget, I'm looking out for your content here. Jack Foster is just he's ready to go. Jack Foster's just ready to just give it all out for free. Jack Foster, always a pleasure, and I'll talk to you next week. All right, we're back here on the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee. Everything School HQ. Joining me, Locked On Vols, Volquest's own Eric Cain is here. Eric, good morning, sir. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. It's I'm doing really well, and excited for a big sports day ahead.
It is a big sports day ahead, and to let the good folks know, we are recording this before Tennessee baseball first pitch against and first game of the series against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. tonight, where Tennessee last loss in SEC series was actually in this very place a year ago, their last one. And then Tennessee Wofford tonight. So we're not going to go full clairvoyant here, Eric Cain, to talk about what we think ultimately happened this evening. But spoiler alert, Tennessee won every game. That's what we'll just go ahead and say. That's the vibe we're going to have. Because why not? If we don't know what's going to happen here, why not assume the best case scenario?
It's always tricky when you do that. I do the Porch podcast with I kind of rotate with Charlie Taylor and Xander Seacrest, and typically for those guys, getting it done earlier, my recording with them in the week is better. So we usually do it on a Monday, and Tennessee won 22 straight games at that point in time, dating back to last year. And so at the very end of my segment with Charlie, I kind of said, hey, Tennessee's riding this win streak at the time of this recording. I assume Tennessee's going to beat ETSU, but I don't know. At least I did show my work. I was like, ETSU's a pretty good ball club, so you never know. And it's like you kind of project that way. But I put it at the very end so I could just chop it right off. And what I did last night when I edited that thing together, I chopped it right off. Nobody knew until now.
Goodness gracious. I was checking the Volquest message boards after that. I mean, some people take it in stride, but still, Tony could lose this game, to Tennessee Tech or ETSU or insert team name here, except Belmont. I feel like they've beaten Belmont 107-4 every time they've played. But I don't know. It's just you drop one, and it's not. And I was just talking to Jack Foster about this, where I don't know if you agree with this, and if you've ever asked Tony about it, Eric, but I don't think these games should count on midweeks because you're already treating it like an experiment. It's kind of, and again, I want to be as respectful as possible here. It's like a JV to varsity situation where you're kind of experimenting. You're playing guys that would not be in the weekend lineup. You're pitching guys who would not be in those spots in the weekend lineups. You're trying to see which arms could potentially help you on SEC weekends. It's just different. The fact that it's treated the same in terms of wins and losses as the weekend games, I don't know. I don't know if it should actually count against Tennessee when they are experimenting and they're treating it so differently.
I never thought about it in the regards of should it count or should it not. Because, Tennessee's not the only one that does it this way. Everybody does it this way, right?
Yeah.
FSU lost to, was it Mercer a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
And, it happens. But it's very much JV in terms of how you do your pitching. Because if Tennessee was trying to go out there and win that game, you would have started Liam Doyle. He would have thrown 6 innings and shoved, right? But that's just not how it works. You start Thomas Crabtree, and then you do this guy, and then this guy, and then this guy, Austin Breedlove, whoever it was. And Tennessee threw 10 guys in that game.
Yeah.
Now, where it is the same is that was pretty much Tennessee's starting lineup, albeit a player here or there. I recognize that.
I was going to say, Ariel started, yeah.
Ariel started, and Dalton Bargo was in the starting lineup, but he's a guy that plays a lot. But anyway, Tennessee was, I don't have it in front of me, Tennessee was 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position. They were 2 for 14 with 2 outs. Or with runners on. It was awful. So the hitting was gross and atrocious. But again, sometimes that's baseball, right? And you drop a game, and Tennessee dropped a midweek game to Lipscomb last year and won a national championship. Tennessee lost to Tennessee Tech and Boston College in a midweek in 23 and went on to Omaha. It's just how it is. But that's interesting. Never thought about it in terms of should it count, but it is very JV in regards to how you throw it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the first thing I wanted to ask you about here at the top, Eric, and it's the offense. And I kind of wonder, because coming into the year, I did anticipate a drop-off offensively from what you had at the top. You're just replacing so much production in the top 6. It's just, there's no way around it. Regardless of how good your transfers are, I just think it was unrealistic to expect this offense to be as good as it was a year ago. However, I also thought the rotation and the pitching would be a whole lot better than a year ago. And you pieced together a weekend rotation that won a national championship, and that was awesome. But I did think the upside here with this rotation was just going to be really, really good. The pitching is great. We still have some question marks about some of the, Ryan Combs. He's got to get back on track. You get Binky back in there. We'll see where he factors in. But, you have Loy, Snead. You have these guys who can just shove for multiple innings on multiple days for you, and it's just... you have AJ Russell looming. There's just a lot. Brandon Arvidsson, it can't really, you figure out where to find. There's just options. Tennessee and Frank Anderson are going to figure out the best way to manipulate this weekend rotation and weekend bullpen looks. But I think in terms of offense, they have a lot of names. They're still, you look up and down the lineup, Averages are mostly pretty solid. Power's been there. There is something about the offense, though, that does feel a little off, right, Eric? It doesn't feel like 2023 where it was like, oh, there's real problems. Like, it's not just off. Like, this offense has real problems. Like, you're going to be 5-10 in SEC play. But I do think there are real, I don't want to say concerns, real questions about what this offense is ultimately going to be. Because I think you're fine with Gavin Keelan. You're playing a lot of true freshmen now. Like, that's part of where you're at in SEC play. You're going to be there. Andrew Fisher, you were hoping he was a plug-and-play Billy Amick guy. I don't think he's playing to the level of Billy Amick a year ago. That doesn't mean he can't get there, but he's got to get more consistent here in SEC play. But I don't know. Like, do you have the same kind of questions about the lineup? Because I don't know how good it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, in the grand scheme of things, it's a very small sample size, only 21 games. But, I mean, they've cooled. They've certainly cooled. Yeah. I mean, you had Levi Clark that was hitting over 500 and, top 5 in the country. And then he's cooled considerably. Oh, he's cooled all the way down to 423, but he's cooled considerably the last week. But I mean, he's cooled off a little bit. Reese Chapman was on fire to begin the year. He's cooled off a little bit. Andrew Fisher, the average isn't great, 271, but he's playing a lot better than where he was. I mean, 271 average, but the power's there at 7 home runs and 21 ribbies. So that's what you brought him here for. I mean, Andrew Fisher is not a 300 hitter. That's just not who he is. He's I'm going to hit you 270, and I'm going to hit you 30 bombs at Lindsey Nelson. And it's like, okay, well, at least you're hitting home runs, from now on. So I've been impressed with that. I thought Cannon swinging the bat better of late, but, still the 214 is not great. So, I mean, a lot of it is it's baseball, and it's a long season. But you're still seeing a lot of consistency with Gavin Keelan, with Hunter Inslee. I mean, Hunter Inslee, every time you look up there, he's hitting 325, 330. It's like, is he really?
Yeah.
He continued. I mean, the other night he had 4 hits. And I thought
he leads them in home runs,
Abernathy,
right? Doesn't Gavin lead him in home runs right now too?
Yeah, Gavin Keelan leads him in home runs with 10. Yeah, and that's a storyline this weekend with his health because he got banged up a little bit at the end of the game on Tuesday, and that's something to pay attention to big time. If he's not available to play a lot this weekend, man, there's a lot of options, like in the mound you were talking about. I mean, you could put Manny at second, Ariel at shorts. You could put Dean at third. You can go Bargo at third, Manny at second. There's so many different ways you could do it, but guys are gonna have to step up. But back to your point, I mean, the offense, there's not a Semo, a Blake Berg, there's not a Kavaris Tears, there's not a Dylan Dreiling. I mean, it's hard to replace those guys, but I think Tennessee's doing a pretty good job so far. What I'm looking for is Levi Clark to get back on track, find some more consistency. What I'm looking for is Cannon Peebles to add a little bit to the bottom of that lineup. What I'm looking for is Dean Curley to avoid the 0 for 5 days, the 0 for 4 days. Go the Maui route until you can kind of tread water. Go 1 for 4 and get that first hit in the 7th inning if you need it. You need to avoid those type of stretches. But yeah, there's some questions. But overall, I still think the offense has been pretty solid. I'd like to see them hit from more extra base hits, not necessarily home runs. But this team last year was so good at doubles because Blake Berg was one of the national leaders. I like to see that kind of return as we move on to Alabama week.
I think all that's fair. I do kind of wonder because you brought up we just kind of penciled in and Dean would be filling the Semo spot in the leadoff, where it's he's probably going to be your best hitter this year. I don't think he's your best hitter this year, which is a good problem to have. Dean's really good, but he's not your best hitter. Behind him, it's probably been Gavin Keelan to this point has been your best hitter. That being said, I do kind of wonder because Jay Abernathy has come on late. Jay Abernathy was someone that we and I think you and I talked about it before the year of if he had to pick one true freshman to start and be playing right away, it was Jay Abernathy. That wasn't the case right away, and now he is, I think, settled in at left field. He's hitting well. We know what he can do on the base pass, and we assume as a 3-year guy, he's going to eventually move into that leadoff hole eventually, but that's a lot of pressure to put on a true freshman. But I do kind of wonder now, and I wonder if you're starting to think how many more weekend series where he hits pretty well at the bottom of the order. I mean, we're both Braves guys. It's kind of the Michael Harris thing where it kind of does benefit him at the bottom of the order. It seems like every time they would move him up, it doesn't work. It's you want to move Michael Harris up. He's super talented, but it's he still kind of hits really well for a ninth hitter in the lineup. So there is some Michael Harris stuff to that, but I don't know. I kind of wonder if Tony does need to kind of move around some guys if Dean Curley kind of, because he can't go 0 for 4 or for 5 in some key SEC games at the top of the order. And that just wasn't on the docket for SEMO at all last year.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, it's unbelievable. Like, SEMO's top 15 draft pick. Like, it's not fair to put those kind of expectations on Dean. But I do think it's at least worth talking about, of potentially moving Dean around and maybe putting Dean at 3 or 4 or something like that, and moving Jay up to try. So Gavin Keelan, who is leading you in home runs, if Jay can get on, or Jay can move around, like Gavin being the best person behind him, like I do kind of wonder if Jay Gavin might be something you fiddle with sooner rather than later.
I think so. I don't think right now. Again, we'll see what's in store this weekend. Alabama's a really good club. Alabama's pitched the baseball so well this year, which is, I don't want to say shocking, but like, I mean, there was serious questions surrounding that staff entering the year, and they've done a great job. I mean, they've had the most consistent pitching of anybody in the SEC to begin the season in terms of 1, 2, 3 starters. We'll see what happens this weekend. I still think it's a bit early for that. I think Dean Curley's a great hitter. He's going through it right now a little bit. I want my great hitters to hit more, and that's why typically you have your best hitter, hit 1, 2, something like that. So I'm not there yet. Also, as much as I want in my mind, like Jay Abernathy lead off, and that's going to happen in the future at some point. You brought up Michael. I love having him in the 9 hole, because again, it's like you flip your lineup over an at bat sooner. Like,
yeah,
I was talking to Jack Foster at the game the other day. I'm like, I forgot what inning it was. Tennessee was down 4-2. Might have been the 4th or 5th inning or whatever, and Abernathy led off. He got on base. I turned to him. I said, "Okay, Tennessee's going to take the lead this inning because you got Abernathy on, no outs. It's like your leadoff guys out there. Then the lineup card flips over to Dean and Gavin. It just makes so much sense. So, I love seeing him in that 9 hole. But yeah, I mean, eventually he's going to hit leadoff, whether it's this year, whether it's next year. He's just too good. He hits the field. He hits the opposite direction so well. I love the way he's just not afraid in the box. I mean, he gives professional at bats, and it looks really, really good. And then something else you could maybe toy with a little bit is just flipping Dean Curley and Gavin Keelan. I think Gavin would be fine in the leadoff spot. Obviously, the power numbers have been there this year, and that's all great. I mean, truly, you're only leading off one time in the game. The rest of the time, you could be hitting second or third in the order. So that whole thing's kind of overblown in my opinion. But he's just seen the ball well. His OBP is through the roof. His slugging percentage is through the roof. So I wouldn't mind Gavin Keelan hitting leadoff. But more than anything for Dean, he's got to take some more pitches. Like, he swings at the first pitch every time. And as a leadoff guy, as a, bottom of the first inning, like, let's let your dugout see some pitches here, man. Like, SEMO was so good about being selective and waiting on all that. And if we can get Dean Curley to not swing at the first pitch, I think we'd be on our way a little bit. But he's much better than the way he's been hitting here of late. So we'll see what this weekend has, maybe next weekend, and then we can talk about it some more. I think it's a bit too early, but sooner or later, Jay Abernathy is going to be at the top of the order, whether it's this year or next year.
The other freshman that has really come on and has just forced his way, he's kind of been, speaking of Dean Curley, he's been this year's Dean Curley, is Manny Marin, where Dean was not in the cards to start right away last year, and circumstances led to Dean getting an opportunity, and to Dean's credit, he ran with it. And he was like, nope, this is my job, and I'm not giving it back for the rest of the year. And he became an everyday shortstop. Manny's kind of done that at third, where Manny's like, I'm going to hit, and I'm going to be great defensively, and you're not taking me out of the lineup. Like, I am now going to play every weekend series. And I think it's just kind of overlooked, is that Manny Marin, who is unfortunately, I think, a 2-year guy at Tennessee because of his birthday. So you wish all these guys, like Levi and Jay and Manny and all, like, they're all 3-year, but he's a 2-year guy. So he has taken the reins here, Eric, but what has been the most impressive part of Manny Marin settling in at third and also hitting for Tennessee pretty strong to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the surprise, if there is one, would be hitting. I knew he could swing the bat a little bit, but I mean, again, we're going to the second weekend of SEC play. We're over 20 games into the season, so it's enough of a sample size, but it's still just about a third of the way through. I mean, he's hitting 400. Dude's just hitting, right? And he's flashed some power a little bit. Couple home runs in big spots. Homered in Houston in a big league park, and I just think that he's doubled 5 times. That's tied for second on the team. Like, he just sees the ball really well, puts good swings on it, can go the opposite direction as well. He's been selective. He's walked almost as many times as he struck out as a young guy, so I kind of look at that parameter there. But the glove has not surprised me at all. I mean, I knew from day one they can put him anywhere in the infield and he was going to be fine. That's why I think this week we'll have to pay attention to Gavin Keelan's health. If he's not able to play second base, you have so many options, but Manny at second base would be a big one as well. He can play second, he can play short, he can play first. He played a little bit of first. He's played, I think, in the game maybe twice this year first. In fall or in spring, in preseason camp, he was playing a little bit of right field. I mean, the dude is just a wizard with the glove out there, and it's so much fun watching him. Watching him and Ariel on the same side of the infield. Whoo! That is just not even fair defensively. So I've been really impressed with him. And you're right, I love that comparison. He's kind of like this year's Dean Curley. It's like nobody was really talking about him. Dean got that opportunity, and then he just never left. And that's 100% Manny Marin. Manny Marin's that dude, and I'm excited to see how good he can turn into.
Absolutely. Switching gears here a little bit. Some Tennessee football, Eric Cain. This is something that is just every day. It's like my wife's like, what are we talking about? And I'm like, mesh? Is Tennessee adding mesh to the wide receiver concepts here? Are we going to see some mesh? Are you about to learn Wake Forest, buddy, here in Knoxville, Tennessee, Eric Cain? I mean, what do you think? Because that's where I'm like with the new potential route trees that Tennessee might be unleashing this fall. It does feel like there's going to be some changes to this offense. It does feel like it's not going to look like what we saw. Like the 12 personnel that I'm going to get to here in a second is probably going to be back. But what do you think we're going to see? Do you think it's mesh concepts? Do you think we see more of that? Do you think we see just more of a pro style look than we've seen in recent years as a whole with these receivers and the circumstances here at Tennessee? And then what would you like? Like if you were offensive coordinator Eric Cain, based on your preferences, what would you like to see the wrinkles be changed in the passing game?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see some mesh concepts, in my opinion. I mean, nobody's told me this, but I mean, I think there's going to be some wrinkles. I think they're going to make some adjustments. Why? Because the last 2 years, your passing game has not been where it needs to be. Okay, I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
You also bring in Seth Littrell, who is coordinated offenses at a big level. He's a head coach in North Texas. He's been around the block. He knows what he's doing. He's going to come in there. He's going to have an imprint on this. Him and Joey Halsley, Josh Heupel, Kelsey Pope, and they're going to make some new wrinkles. This is still going to be Heupel's offense. So like, I don't think you're going to see more of a pro style or anything like that. But I do think you're going to see some tweaks. I think you're going to see some underneath routes because this offense relies on the post, the slants, the digs. There's no drags. There's no mesh. There's no hitches. There's no squirrel routes. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a receiver. There's no 10 and in. I mean, there's nothing underneath. And as a once upon a time, a long time ago linebacker, it's the underneath stuff kills you because you see something coming across your face and you want to go bam and smack it right there. But then they'll just throw it over the top, right? I mean, like that, it really puts the second layer defender in conflict. And there's not been enough of that, in my opinion, right? So if you do a drag right in front of the LBs, you roll that dig behind them, open all day, unless you have a safety that presses down. So I think there's going to be some tweaks and all that, and I'm hopeful of it. If I was the OC, and I'm intrigued to see if there's going to be some underneath stuff and kind of what that looks like, will it be enough to move those splits in? Tennessee's got the widest splits in college football. I feel like Josh Heupel's thought that they were paramount to running the football, and Tennessee's running the football well. Okay, I mean, if that is the reason why, mission accomplished, because Tennessee's run the football well every year under him. They ran the football almost as well as the Tennessee team has ever done it in program history last year. So it's been good. But are you going to move the splits down at all? I'm curious to see if they toy with that at all and what that looks like. I talked about it last year. I was like, you got a young quarterback, you got an offensive line that can't protect him. Move that guy in. I mean, it's like you're throwing 30 yards to the right and 2 yards downfield. Move him inside, right? And so I'm intrigued to see what that kind of looks like. So I think there'll be some tweaks. I still think this will look like a Josh Heupel offense, but if you're not evolving, you're not growing. And I think this offense needs to grow significantly because there's been 2 years of it just not looking the way it needs to in terms of explosives.
I think you hit the nail on the head, especially with the underneath stuff. Braylon Staley, it feels like I was talking to Bull from Blue Chip Breakdown of like his comparison, I think, with Cedric Wilson. And he's someone that I just feel like to maximize Braylon. And then let me also throw, I mean, we've talked about this, Boo Carter. If he's going to get snaps, Boo Carter being a problem in the middle of the field and making linebackers have to try and deal with Boo Carter. That's
it
what
could be
you
as
want.
simple as this: put Boo in the slot, let him
Yes.
run a 2-yard drag, literally just toss it to him and
Yes.
just let him work. Let it be a little pinball.
Don't make it overcomplicated. Don't overcomplicate this.
That's what a punt return is, right? Give him the football, a short amount of space, a lot of defenders, see what he does. That it can be as simple as that. Go on, sorry.
No, I mean, that's like, I think that's what you have to do. And I think that's why I think it's real. So I think the people who are kind of raising an eyebrow, the fans who are a little skeptical after 4 years, where you're like, all right, we've heard about these, like, make adjustments, and like, are we sure that he's going to do that? And I'm like, it seems to me there's just too much smoke. When there's this much smoke, there's fire. And there's just a lot of smoke that there's going to be new wrinkles and things are going to look a little bit, it doesn't, like you said, it's still Heupel's offense. It's not going to be a drastic change. But I do think with their personnel, with the struggles they've had the last 2 years, like you said, with Seth Luttrell in the building now, things are going to look a little different. Don't sell Landry Jones short here, Cain. He's also back in the building here.
Yeah, I mean, getting the whole band back together.
Yeah,
Oklahoma,
right? But all that being said, I think it just would be silly not to maximize Braylon and Boo and underneath stuff and to not add mesh-like concepts. Like, I think with the personnel they have right now, I think it just seems like a no-brainer. But I do kind of wonder, and you brought this up, there is a give and take there where if you do start moving guys away from those wide splits, what does that mean for the running game? Because you have thrived averaging 5 yards a carry on average for the last 4 years, in part because of these wide splits and light boxes. If you start moving these receivers in a little bit, like, that's a lot more pressure on these inexperienced running backs. Like, this is not Dylan Sampson back there. These are, it's going to be a rotation of guys, and I know a lot of people are, Deshaun Bishop just needs to stay healthy. Until, like, Deshaun Bishop's healthy for a full year, I just can't pencil him in as, like, someone you can count on at this point. I think he's good, but availability is just too important. And I look at Peyton Lewis, you look at Dwan Morris, who's apparently turning heads as a freshman. Like, we'll see if he plays. Star Thomas, you like receiving out of the backfield. That's something else that Tennessee hasn't really done a whole lot, throwing passes to running backs out of the backfield. Maybe that's something Star Thomas feeds on. But if you move guys inside, that puts more pressure on this offensive line that's going to have 3 new interior starters. And Wendell Moy, Sam Pendleton, we're expecting as the transfers, and then potentially William Satterwhite. It's more pressure on them. Like, you're not going to have as light of boxes. You're going to have to, like, I'm not saying it's been easy for Tennessee offensive linemen to clear pathways for running backs to scamper on. But it has been easier to run up the middle because you've had lighter boxes. And that's what Tennessee, generally speaking, does. Like, they're running right up the gut. And if you're changing that a little bit, I would be curious to see what that looks like for the running game, because that will have to be something that is affected by it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, in my opinion, you can't just bring the guy in on a short split on this play, then widen him back out. Because I mean, everybody's going to catch that on tape and everything. Yes. Now, if you're in the red zone or something and you want to pull it out of your back pocket, like Chris Brazzell flipping with Chaz Nimrod last year, putting him in the slot. Yeah. Say you add that and him coming in a little bit or something, you score a touchdown. Okay, now everybody's got that on tape now, but I mean, you had it in your back pocket that you ran that one play, you scored. But it's not like you can just pick and choose what splits you want every single snap. You can, but you can't be consistent with that. So it'll be interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, I think offensive linemen just gotta do what they do, and that's go and put a hat on a hat and move the line of scrimmage. And you've got all these other teams with their offensive lines that are doing that across the country. And not that Tennessee's offensive line the last couple of years couldn't do that with normal splits. I think they certainly could. But to your point, it definitely helped them. I mean, with some lighter boxes, getting that defensive back out, putting that linebacker out in space, all that and more. So I don't know. It's going to be intriguing, but you hope with the veteran guards you brought in, with a Lance Hurd who will be healthy in another year older, with the David Sanders that has all the potential in the world. I mean, you hope that these guys, the way you've been recruiting and developing, that these guys can go out there and get it done, whatever's asked of them. So we'll see what happens. it will be interesting though, because again, like you can't just pick and choose. You got to find a split and be happy with it. So is that bringing it in a little bit and running there from a base? Is it staying out wide and just saying screw it, let's do what we've been doing? I don't know. We'll have to see. We didn't get a whole lot of looks at that in spring. Maybe we will in the orange and white game to see if it's any different. But I'll be looking for that.
The other way to avoid the issues there, tempo. Like if your tempo's strong and the offense is humming and you switch up the splits, like it's like you don't want to deal with like defense gets set, but it will be harder for them to recognize, oh, they're inside, they're gonna run the ball, or you know what I mean? Like if your tempo is humming and defenses aren't able to sub and get set so that when you do change up where wide receivers are with their splits, that is a way around it. Like that is the way when you're moving. Like in the red zone, you obviously can't do this and it'll get tighter. But the hope is you don't have to be in the red zone as much. Like the hope is you're more like 2022 where you're not having to play in the red zone as much because you have so many big, long, explosive touchdown plays. So, I mean, that is another part of it. It's like if tempo's back, then you don't have to worry as much about just walking up to the line and like, oh, they just look over and they're like, okay, here they are. They're in their wide splits. They're running the ball. I think that is another way around it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, tempo, they still ran an offense with tempo last year, but I mean, they slowed it down considerably, and they wanted to rely on defense last year running the football. And you know what? Like, people that upsets, you made it to the college football playoff. You won 10 regular season games. Like, I'm sorry. Go find joy in life. It's like, what more do you want? This team just won. And what do coaches do? What do teams do? They evolve. They adapt. Okay, they go to their strengths. And last year, that was Tennessee's strengths. Now, is that Tennessee's identity forever? I don't think so. Is that Josh Heupel's identity? No, it never has been. I want to see that tempo return for sure. And I want to see a good defense on the other end of it still. And as you continue to recruit, develop, and get the caliber of players that you want in here and stack good class on top of good class on top of good class, I think you can have that perfect marriage. And, entering year 5, I think you're starting to be there, right? You lost a lot of players last year, like wide receivers and all that, and you lost some key defenders. But the guys replacing them, I think are going to be just as fine, if not better, one day. I mean, I truly do. Like, I think Squirrel White was a really, really productive, nice player here. I think Tennessee can certainly replace his production next year, and that's no disrespect to Squirrel White. I hope he succeeds at Florida State. I think Tennessee's going to be fine in the slot. Dante Thornton's going to be hard to replace. Big time, but he was on the field for like 30% of the snaps anyway, so it's like you were trying to replace him to begin with every single time last year. Brew McCoy, Warrior, I wish he was still playing and everything, but man, it just felt like his injuries just continue to bog him down throughout his Tennessee career. Or Darius Jackson, Travis Smith, Chris Brazel, hopefully take that step. Mike Matthews, I mean, these guys physically, I think, can make up for that. So, again, long way of saying all that returns. Get back to that tempo. Get back to who you are, and you're right. I mean, you're putting defenses in a bind. You can get by with some shorter splits. Just kind of get back to your identity, and that's been an up-tempo football team, and I think Tennessee has looked the best when it's an up-tempo football team offensively. And last year, even though you ran the football so well, I thought you looked lost at times when you slew it down.
I wonder if they're able to bring the tempo back just because you're going to have so many new stars in the offensive line where it's like you talk about Lance Hurd, the learning curve and like what kind of shape he was in to start the year. And he got better as the season went on. But like Tennessee's got Georgia in week 3. Tennessee's got Syracuse right away. Like I mean, they'll be double-digit favorites against Syracuse, but I mean, Syracuse was a team that won 10 regular season or 10 games total last year. So yeah. I mean, Fran Brown's a good coach. I mean, they don't have Kyle McCord, so that scares me less here. Breaking in a new quarterback, Riley Collins, the LSU transfer, but I don't know. I think that is something else that I'm kind of wondering about is just what does the tempo look like when you have 4 new starters on the offensive line? We were talking about the interior, but like new center, like we saw the difference. Like we love Ollie Lane here, but like that was a difference in Florida. Like Ollie being thrust into that role for the first time. And that the environment's not going to be the same in Syracuse or Georgia at home, but the tempo and stuff has to. Like I wonder how much of the speed of what Heupel and company want to do out of the gate is a little bit different this year because they have 2 big games, one neutral site right out of the gate against Syracuse, and then Georgia at home, which might decide whether or not you're a CFP team because you need to win that game. You've lost 1 home game in the last 3 years, and it was against Georgia 2 years ago. And if you win that game, you're probably in the playoff because then you can lose Bama and Florida and win, and you'll be favored in every other game and be able to get in. But where are those offensive linemen at? How ready are they for that Georgia defensive line that you have not scored against in the second half in the last 2 years. So I don't know. I do kind of wonder where they're at, because last year they only had to worry about breaking in Lance Hurd at left tackle. This year you're starting 4 new guys. Like, are they going to be able to handle tempo? Are they going to be in shape enough to deal with that kind of speed and everything else that Tennessee wants to do? I don't know.
It's a really good question. Yeah, I mean, 4 different offensive linemen and a new center. You mentioned Ollie Lane. I mean, Jerome Carvin, when he had to play center in 2021, he did a fine job, but that was a much slower offense than what it was with Cooper May. So for the first time in the history of Josh Heupel being Tennessee's head coach, you are looking at a different center one for your team, QB1, center one. And what's that look like? I think it's important for these guys to practice in fall camp. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a trainer. I'm not a Division I football coach. There's so much that I don't know and I don't understand. But I think a big reason why there was guys out of shape is because guys didn't practice last year. Like, hello?
We're talking about practice, not a game. Not a game.
Practice. Like, get out there and practice, man. And I mean, at some point, like, it's like, oh, you're going to play? Okay, get in here. You're going this rep a team here. You're going this rep 11 on 11. And that's just my whole thing. It's like, everybody's like, oh, Lance Hurd's so out of shape. It's like, well, duh. He didn't practice in August hardly at all. So I don't know. I'm going off on a little tangent here. I apologize. But that stuff frustrates me. So these guys have got to get in there and practice the month of August. And we'll see what that tempo looks like. But you're exactly right. 4 new offensive linemen, a new center. Maybe it's a work in progress. Maybe you're not as fast as you're probably not. Usually you're fast to begin and then you slow it down as the year goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is flipped because you got all that newness up front. Maybe you're at a decent pace to begin, but it's only going to get faster as the year goes along. I can see that happening.
Final thing, we'll get you out of here, Eric Cain. Mike Matthews. Like, we're looking in our crystal ball. Biletnikoff finalist. Do you see it for him this year?
No.
Okay.
I mean, that's no disrespect to him at all, but I've got to see this offense get back to where it was in terms of the explosives before I think anybody, Nico Heisman finalist, Matthews, Biletnikoff, I mean, anybody. I've got to see this offense thrive in those explosive plays. And so I'm going to say no, but that does not mean I don't think Mike Matthews can be a good player. I think he's going to be the leading receiver. I think his speed has never been an issue. His physicality has been his strength. I'm ready to see that combination kind of come full circle, and let's see him kind of utilize those, in a given game this year. So I'm excited to see what he looks like. I'm also excited to see Chris Brazzell because I truly do believe. I mean, there's only one way, and it's up for him. From last year, I think being here another year, excelling in the practicing in the system and all that, it's only going to help him, just like it helped Dante Thornton. So I think the offense, the passing game will be better because I think Nico's going to be a lot better as well. But I'm going to hold off on the Biletnikoff for Mike Matthews right now. Doesn't mean I don't think he'll be a good player, but I'm going to hold off on that.
I think that's fair. Here's what I'll say. I think it's possible. I think he's going to get a bunch of targets. I think my gut is he is going to be used how he's going to have the relationship to Nico that Hendon had to Cedric Tillman.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get targeted a bunch. Like, I think he's going to get the option. Like, so if he does what he needs to do with these targets and this responsibility that he's going to have this year, he can absolutely be a Biletnikoff finalist because Tennessee doesn't have options. Like, you talk about Brazzell. Like, Brazzell, I want, like, poor man's Dante Thornton. Like, I will live with that. Like, with more snaps because I don't have the bodies. Like, just more snaps than Dante gave you last year for Chris Brazzell. But, like, if you just have a couple games where you flip the script, like the Vanderbilt game, like Dante Thornton bailed you out. If Chris Brazzell just has a couple games where he has 2 touchdowns on, like, 5 catches for 110 yards, and then he disappears for a couple weeks, you're like, all right, that's fine. Like, that is what it is. Just give us something every couple games, or every 3 to 4, like on average, like every 3 to 4 games, like an Igor Milicic thing. He's the Olivier Cromwell, where it's just like every now and then we just need you to like help out the regulars.
It's bad, man. Like, because I think he's got a whole lot of talent, but there's only 2, and maybe this is unfair. There's probably more, but there's only 2 plays that come off on the top of my head right now when I think of Chris Brazzell last year. Number 1, the touchdown against Alabama. Yep. That was big. Number 2, wasn't even a touchdown. It was a massive third down, and Tennessee was down 14-0 in the first quarter at Vanderbilt. Maybe they had already scored their first touchdown, but it was a massive third down. It was like 3rd and 10 or whatever, and it was a dig, and he came back like in between 2 defenders, went up and caught it and got hammered. Held on the football. Tennessee got a first down and went ahead and scored. Like, those are the only 2 plays I can remember from Brazel. So to your point, I mean, yeah, he's got to turn it on a little bit, and it would be unrealistic because, I mean, it's a different skill set. I mean, Dante Thornton was an absolute burner. Like, not that Brazel's not fast, but Thornton was a burner. It's a bit of a different skill set. But if you can give you more snaps but half the production, yeah, sign me up. I'll take that too.
I mean, you look at it. Last year was Travis Hunter, McMillan from Arizona, Nick Nash from San Jose State were the 3 finalists. It's kind of surprising that no Ohio State receiver was a finalist, but I don't know. I think Matthews is going to get the Cedric Tillman look, is my gut. I think you're going to see in Syracuse, if they spam the Mike Matthews button against Syracuse and Mercedes-Benz, where I'll be in the building for him. I'm excited for that. A reason to go back home to Atlanta for that game. But I do think you're going to see, we're going to do a pod, Eric Cain, that week after and be like, oh, did you look at the targets by Mike Matthews? Mike Matthews has 17 targets in the Syracuse game because they have they just keep spamming it. Like, they're just throwing to Mike. And he's such a good, go ball guy. Like, that's the thing is he's not as big as Cedric, but he's bigger than you think. And he plays above his size, where he mossed a guy in spring practice. He had that big up and over catch in the red zone against Kent State, I want to say. One of the best catches of the year. Like, he has that go ball potential, and is someone that I don't think is going to shy away from those kind of targets. And Tennessee hasn't had somebody like Cedric Tillman in a while. And I just think that's the relationship he's going to have with Nico, is Nico is going to trust him and go at him a bunch.
I'm down to have that podcast, because that means Tennessee probably found some explosive plays in Tennessee. Yeah. I'll never forget sitting up there in that press box at Acrisure Stadium, the old Heinz Field, and
we're calling it Heinz Field.
I'm like, damn, how many times has he thrown at Cedric Tillman? I looked down and I was like, 21 times. What? Like, he had like I want to say 13 or 14 receptions, 21 targets. Like, Jalen Hyatt had 13 targets in that game too. He only had 6 receptions, but it's like, man, they just threw it and threw it and threw it and threw it. And I remember Golish, we spoke to him a couple days after that, like inside the facility when he was walking in and out, and like, what is up with going to Tillman so much? He's like, that's our guy. I know for a fact he can go win us a game. We're going to go back to our guy repeatedly. Go back to our guy. That's Hendon's guy. That's our guy. And I was like, okay, I get it. So.
He's a forgotten what if. Like, if he doesn't get hurt, like, what does that look like on that stupid? What's in that Kent State? Was that Akron?
It was Akron game.
Would have been nice to have him fully healthy for the Georgia game.
Yeah, it's not funny, but it's interesting because, like, Ramel Keaton balled out. Like, Ramel Keaton came in and he straight up balled out. And so, like, good for Keaton. But yeah, like, what could have been for Cedric Tillman, because he was never healthy enough the rest of the way, and it was unfortunate. But boy, did he make him some money here at Tennessee. Known as nothing but a blocking wide receiver for all the Pruitt years, and then in 2021, it's like, oh wow, look at this guy. Oh, that's a legit NFL prospect. Okay, and then of course we know what he's doing in the NFL now. So,
Eric Cain, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at Locked On Vols and Volquest.com this week?
Yeah, just so much going on right now. Tennessee in the NCAA tournaments, Tennessee baseball and SEC play. Got Tennessee spring practice. They're going to be back on the practice field on Tuesday morning. So we're talking about it all. We're talking to some great people who are, inside sources as well. I'm at practice too. So all that and more conversation over on Locked On Vols, and of course every single day on the Volquest.com. We've got a lot going on right now. It's one of the best sports months of the year, no doubt about it, the month of March.
Go subscribe, Locked On Vols and Volquest today if you're not already. Eric, keep up the good work, my friend, and I'll talk to you again very soon.
Chase, thanks so much, man.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.